Title: The Return of the Unbreakable Dream. I still remember the day I first dared to tell them. I was barely 20, standing nervously in the cramped kitchen of our modest home, clutching a battered sketchbook filled with my dreams. I had just finished my first set of paintings, wild, chaotic, full of color and life, and I believed with everything I had that I could become a painter. Not just a hobbyist, but a real artist, someone whose work could speak to souls. But the moment I voiced it, the room fell silent. My father's brow furrowed, his voice dripping with skepticism. Painting? You're joking, right? That's not a real job. You'll end up starving just like your uncle and embarrassing the family with your silly dreams. My mother shook her head, her lips pressed into a thin line. You're wasting your time. No one makes a living with paint and brushes. Why can't you be sensible? My siblings snickered behind me, exchanging knowing glances. They called me the dreamer, a pathetic fool chasing a fantasy. I felt a wave of shame wash over me, but beneath it, there was a flicker of defiance. I clenched my fists and told myself I'd prove them wrong. That moment marked the start of my journey, the first step into a world that would test every ounce of my resolve. Chapter 1: The First Failures. The next few years were a brutal grind. I struggled to sell my paintings, living on ramen and borrowed money. My art was raw, unrefined, often dismissed as childish or amateurish. The rejection letters piled up like mountains. Galleries rejected me, critics sneered, and my family's words echoed relentlessly in my mind. But I refused to give up. Every no fueled my fire. I stayed up nights honing my craft, studying techniques, pouring my soul into every brushstroke. I painted in abandoned warehouses, on park benches, anywhere I could find a blank canvas. I believed in my vision, even when the world mocked me. Eventually, I started gaining small recognition, local exhibitions, online shares, a growing following. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep me going. I knew I was on the right path. I just had to persevere. Chapter 2: The Turning Point. Years passed. I moved into a tiny studio apartment, living frugally, but relentlessly pursuing my craft. Then, one day, I created a piece that resonated deeply, a chaotic explosion of color depicting struggle and hope intertwined. I uploaded it online. Within days, it went viral. People connected with my raw emotion, my authenticity. Suddenly, I was invited to showcase my work in galleries across the country. My paintings sold for thousands. My name started circulating in art circles. I had done it, from the laughingstock of my family to a respected artist. But the victory was bittersweet. I knew they still doubted me, still saw me as the failed dreamer they'd mocked for so long. After a decade of relentless pursuit, I felt a strange pull, a need to return to where it all began. I was now successful, wealthy even, but I wanted my family to see what I'd become with their own eyes. I booked a flight, a first-class ticket that symbolized my ascent. When I stepped off the plane, I felt a surge of emotion, pride, nostalgia, a quiet defiance. The house was the same small, aging structure. But I was no longer the boy who cowered in its shadows. I was a man forged by hardship and unyielding resolve. Chapter 4: The Return Home. Walking through the familiar streets, I noticed the neighbors whispering, eyes narrowing. I could hear the distant snickers of my siblings, the subtle sneer of my father. I was prepared for their judgment, but I refused to be diminished. I entered the house, my heart pounding. This was the crucible, the moment of reckoning. My family gathered in the living room, eyes wide with disbelief as I entered, carrying a portfolio of my latest works. "Dad," I said softly, "Mom, I want you to see what I've become." They looked at me, silent. Then I placed my paintings on the table, vivid, powerful, raw expressions of my soul. My father's face was unreadable, shadowed by confusion and something else, maybe regret. Chapter 5. The Powerful Scene. Then my father looked up, eyes moist, voice trembling. "Is this really you?" I nodded, tears threatening to spill. Yes, I never gave up, no matter how many times I was told I was foolish. I fought, I struggled, but I made it. All those years I fought for my dream. Your doubt only made me stronger. My family sat in stunned silence. The weight of their judgments, their mockery, hung heavy in the air. But then, slowly, my mother reached out and touched one of my paintings. "It's beautiful," she whispered, voice trembling. My father looked at me, a flicker of pride breaking through the years of disappointment. "You've proven us wrong," he said quietly. "You've become someone we can be proud of." Epilogue: The Quiet Power of Redemption. Standing there amidst my art, I felt an overwhelming sense of victory, not just over my family's doubts, but over my own fears. I had transformed rejection into resilience, humiliation into triumph. I had returned home not just as a successful painter, but as a testament to the unbreakable power of pursuing your truth. In that moment, I realized that sometimes the greatest victories come not from the applause, but from the silent, unwavering belief in oneself. I had been mocked, humiliated, dismissed, but I had refused to be defeated. And now, standing in the glow of my success, I knew that I had finally earned my place, not just in the art world, but in the story of perseverance and redemption. Because some dreams, no matter how ridiculous they may seem, are worth fighting for. And when you finally return to those who doubted you, they see not just your success, but the unbreakable spirit that refused to give up. The end.